We will soon have to fend for ourselves and often learn the hard way. We will grasp all that is around us and strive to hold on to each moment, for we will feel the value of each second once we reflect on the passage of the time in the womb, or rather our 4 years of high school. I believe we truly are still babies, naive yet jaded in many ways. As the image of us entering life flew through my mind, I began to realize that the time we spent together is so short in comparison to the rest of our lives. As we have come upon our last day as seniors, I can only hope we have spent each moment doing something valuable for ourselves and for others. For this is the last time we will ever walk through the halls with a purpose, and unfortunately, the last time we will all be together. Sure, we may see each other down the road, but we will not be the same people we are today. We will have the same name and maybe a similar face, but the person inside will be a little wiser, more confident, and possess a new edge. In college, we all have our paths we would like to follow. I hope we all stay focused and achieve those goals. However, remember that in life, success is the measure of your happiness. The small moments are what count most when one looks back. I wish you all luck in your personal endeavors. Strive not to cry for the past, nor fear the future, for the road that lies ahead is more beautiful and exciting than any experience we've ever felt.
For many, a graduation is nothing more than the conferral or receipt of an academic degree or diploma marking completion of studies. A ceremony at which degrees or diplomas are conferred, a commencement. But for us, sitting, standing, here now, this graduation is something much more than that. Just like the saying, when one door closes, another opens, our graduation is both an ending and a beginning. Tonight we celebrate all the many things that we have accomplished over the past 13 years, but at the same time mark the beginning of a new part of our life that will see many more new accomplishments. We are all here to commemorate the completion of our studies in high school, while also witnessing the start of our lives in the real world. As we close the door on high school, soon we will all find out what is in front of the door that leads to our future. As we complete our ceremony, we will all get up and walk out of Sasso Field for the last time as the Fairlawn High School class of 2004. Do you know what's funny? Some students have never set foot on this field before, whether it was to let the grass grow or not, and some people have millions of times. Some people have walked on this field more than they have walked into the main office. But tonight here, sitting before us, there are football players who sweated on this field, runners who've gotten their best times on this track, second in the state volleyball pool players, debaters, scholars, educators, singers, actors, and writers. Every single person has their own individual niche that they have found here over the past 4 years. But the thing that has kept us together as a common bond was that we are all a part of the class of 2004. As you walk off this field tonight, you are no longer a senior. You are the Fairlawn High School class of 2004
when I was videotaping last time.
I would like to capture us one last time together as the Fairlawn High School senior class of 2004.
Because they were standing in front of the tape for just a second while Matthew walked onto the field, and I think it was them going on the field, and she started freaking out.
After tonight is over, we will all separate into our own different directions, embarking on our own new journeys. But always remember, no matter where it may take you, your journey started here.
Now the teachers are wearing black. Everybody else is wearing red. How do I get this stupid thing on?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we sailed as the twilight's last gleam, whose proud stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free, and the home of the brave.
Congratulations, class of 2004.
I didn't even see her. Did you see her? I can't even see her through here.
I have no clue.
Oh, there.
Celia Bartholomew once wrote, throughout history, writers have had two main problems. One is writer's block, when the words won't come at all. And the other is logorrhea, when the words come so fast that they can't get to the wastebasket in time. I, unfortunately, was afflicted by the former, as I made vain attempts at writing my valedictory address. I brainstormed for hours, searched for inspiration, banged my head against the wall, and practically stared a hole through my computer, but it was no use. Regina Brett, a newspaper columnist, nailed it right on the mark when she wrote, "Writer's block is when one curses the blinking cursor on the blank page." So anyway, I was sitting at my desk at 2 o'clock in the morning last night, still with no speech. This was hardly new though, since I am the master of procrastination, pulling off all-nighters to finish those lovable term papers. By the way, Mrs. Lawrence, I never told you this, but I finished your 10-page term paper on the federal funding of embryonic stem cell research just 30 minutes before it was due. However, no assignment thus far had left me so stumped at this speech. I kept racking my brains, trying to come up with something witty and intelligent to say in front of all of everyone. I tried to think of what Jon Stewart, Conan O'Brien, Will Ferrell, or Dave Chappelle, okay, maybe not Dave Chappelle, might say in a speech. But then I realized something. As it turns out, I'm not all that witty and intelligent, so I scratched that idea. Then I thought, maybe I'll just tell a few stories from our past to impart a feeling of nostalgia upon the graduates and their families. Upon further consideration, I realized nobody really wants to hear about the time back in 4th grade when our class filled up water squirters and hid them under poor Miss Farrow's chair. She wasn't too thrilled when she leapt out of her seat with their rear soaking wet. And certainly no one wants to admit their personal quest as freshmen, searching for that pool on top of Fairland High School. I know, it was even hard for me to swallow at first that the pool was just a myth, and I sympathize with your disappointment, but you guys have to admit that it was hilarious pulling out the same prank on the freshmen this year. Yes, these stories were just way too embarrassing and improper for a graduation ceremony. After that, I decided maybe I could concoct an illustrious oration filled with euphoric locutions rivaling the wails of the mythical sirens. But I realized using big words is just isn't my style, since such a pretentious display of utter pedantry would probably just evoke a gradual coagulation of antipathies and irksome ennui from my audience. In other words, it would just bore you guys stiff. Plus, I wouldn't want my speech bearing any resemblance to that of my friend Matt Greenfield. Heaven forbid I should sound redundant at graduation. Upon bailing on the whole smart guy act, I decided the best way to give a graduation speech is to share a bit of philosophy. So I came up with lines like, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Besides being cliche, I quickly realized there's really no point in trying to impose your life philosophy on others, for each man finds his own philosophy in life. All one must do is listen to their heart and let their conscience guide them through life's numerous and varied tribulations. So, since I certainly was no Socrates, philosophy was out of the scope, so I turned to humor. The only problem was that nothing I wrote was funny. I tried and tried and tried, but it was useless. Every pathetic effort I made was completely unsuccessful. I couldn't make anything work. I felt a lot like how Mrs. Stein must have felt trying to teach the class integration via trig substitution. Or Mr. Oliver smoothly explaining ionic equilibrium while using Le Chatelier's principle in AP chemistry. Absolutely hopeless. When I finally realized I was beating a dead horse without humor angle, I figured, how about thanking all of those special people who have loved and supported me all throughout the years? My parents, grandparents, brothers, relatives, friends, teachers, and administrators all have had a hand in my success, and I can't thank them enough. But a speech solely dedicated to them would read like a long list of credits at an end of a movie. Boring. In addition, if I had accidentally forgotten to mention people who deserve recognition, A, they would never forgive me. B, they'll let the entire world know what an utterly selfish and ungrateful person I am. And C, they'd probably wring my neck. So weighing my options and risks, I decided to play it safe and avoid the thank you speech. Next, I decided maybe I'd leave you with a tidbit of advice to use out in the real world. I was going to say things like, never get too wrapped up in your work to enjoy life. And always remember that true happiness is not gained through success, but rather with sharing love with family and friends. I thought I'd advise everyone to take life one day at a time, and always remember on the bad days that tomorrow will come. And each day, soon, tomorrow will make every today worth the wait. I even had an ending this time. I thought I'd conclude by suggesting that we let down all the barriers and put our differences aside and spend lasting moments together as one united student body. That's when it dawned on me. Hey, I've never done this before. What do I know how we should spend these final moments? How can I presume to give advice on the real world? For crying out loud, I'm an 18-year-old boy, not quite out of high school. Okay, now I was desperate. As my last resort, I thought, I've given quite a few speeches in my high school career as class vice president. Why not model the speech after them? You know, the ones in which I always started off with enthusiastic, "What's up, class of 2004?" But then I spotted the contradiction immediately. This speech is supposed to be a farewell address. I should be saying goodbye instead of "What's up?" Great, just great. I couldn't even use my campaign slogan, "It's a no-brainer, vote for Zaner." With a heavy sigh, I crumpled yet another piece of paper and chucked it out my wastebasket. By the time I sorted through all these options and shot down every last one, it was nearly 5 o'clock a.m. I was unbelievably tired, and in less than 3 hours, I had to get ready for graduation practice. That's about the time I decided that this graduation speech was way too much of a hassle, gave up on the whole idea. So thank you all for coming out, but I'm terribly sorry. There will be no valedictorian speech this year.
That is such a relief.
Thank you. Let me begin by saying this. A lot of people will probably tell you today, at least they've said it to me, I've seen it said to a few others, that we look great in these caps and gowns, that we look academic and scholarly. Well, honestly, as I look out into a sea of people with red, flat, square, cardboard hats, we really look more like we're good at balancing cardboard squares on our head than scholars and academics. But all joking aside, I would like to speak seriously for a minute. So parents, faculty, members of the Board of Education, Mr. Watson, Ms. Pinella, allow me to take a moment to speak to my classmates, my friends and peers, my fellow members of the class of 2004. Also, these tassels can be a bit of a pain. Don't worry, I won't take long. I just want to talk about where we might go from here and what difference these 4 years can make. Because although few of us will ever have the opportunity in earnest to change the course of history, our collective actions will write the story of our generation. And so we must never forget what we learned here over these 4 years at the proving grounds of our moral anchors, social breadth, and academic vigor. After all, it was 1,385 days ago that we first gathered at the Fairlawn High School class of 2004. Tonight, we are assembled for the last time in many years under that name. But no matter where we go, we will all share one thing in common. We will all share 4 years worth of memories. And for all that we reap, we also share an obligation. For to whom much is given, much is expected. These 4 years, these 1,385 days, must never go to waste. To all the seeds that were sown in those years, now comes the time for harvest. What we have learned, we must use. What we have loved, we must share. And the friends we have made, we must always keep. That last one is especially important, because eventually we will all need jobs, and yes, some of us will be more successful than others. So, Matt Poirier, if you ever do become a senator and you need a chief of staff, you call me. And Dan McQuenna, if you ever do make it pro and you need an agent, you call me. And Joe Grand, if you ever do end up in court and you need a lawyer, you call me. That's right, you call me. Because those bonds, those friendships, are the greatest of the seeds that we must cultivate. But there are so many others. More than opening our books, high school opened our mind. Now we must learn to use them. High school taught us of Huck Finn, but now we must navigate our own rivers. High school taught us of calculus, the study of change. Now we must be the change in this world. High school has shed light on so much for us. Now we must shed light on so much for the world in which we live as we await the new dawning of the day. Because this moment in which we sit together, in fact, the brief moment that was these 4 years, is no more than a dream before the awakening. After all, there is a reason we sit facing eastward today. Because at daybreak, when this dream shows us its last color, and we thrust our caps skyward, then the helm is ours. Let us not forget the Urdu poet who wrote, "He has yet to learn that what history teaches, that though the night has slain the sun, tomorrow shall carve out another, a new sun at dawn. May we be that new sun at dawn. May the rays of that shining sun at daybreak, of our thinking minds, of our loving hearts, shine 1,000 years as we dawn on the leg of a new day. One so very profound and so very unpredictable. The journey of
swastikas in the middle
now,
and shit.
the journey
They're
and
coming after
our
me.
world await us. Godspeed.
Who am I with? I'm with Kenny. Kenny. Nick, you would love it. It's almost a new
I'm really sorry. I'm gonna have to hold it for 2 weeks.
Speedy, what else?
This is the second one
I
I do
would like to
without
start
it.
off by talking about a very special place to me. It's an institution where 1,500 individuals are required to wake up bright and early in the morning to attend 6 hours of hard, hands-on work and learning. This institution runs a tight but orderly and efficient shift that provides for a 45-minute lunch break, the ability to walk around freely with proper identification, lockers to put one's items, a dress code to maintain order and conformity, and wonderful security guards to keep the peace. It's an institution that tries to instill into these 1,500 individuals values and morals that can be put to good use later in life. I'm obviously referring to the state of New Jersey's very own, renowned and beloved state prison. Now, on a more serious note, with all joking aside, I'd like to truly begin. But before I present the class gift, I would like to talk about the school and the class of 2004. To me, Fairlawn High School is not just a school, it is a provider. In a few moments, it will provide the world with 358 members of the class of 2004. Members who will become teachers, doctors, lawyers, soldiers, engineers, politicians, as well as inhabit countless other professions. Starting 4 years ago and ending today, it provided us, 358 members, with the ability to cultivate our personality traits, our individual strengths, and our attributes, as well as form an indestructible bond with our fellow classmates. These are all gifts that Fairlawn High School has provided for us. The most important gift being our common link with one another that will remain with us all forever. We will always be Fairlawn High School's class of 2004. We handled the challenges of the past together. Right now, every second of every day, we experience the present together, and we will persevere in the future together. It is now our turn as a class to present a gift to Fairlawn High School, which has given us so much. So on behalf of the class of 2004, I present this gift to you, Ms. Pinella, to accept for Fairlawn High School, a check from the class of 2004 to use for the betterment of the school in whichever way you deem fit, so that future generations may remember our legacy. Thank you, everyone, and best of luck to all the members of the class of 2004.
Graduating class of 2004. I am deeply moved by the honor to stand before you today as you engage in one of life's most significant rites of passage. Collectively, you have functioned as a unit over the past 4 years. But now it is time for each of you to go your separate ways, to leave your imprint on the world as an individual. It is a world filled with opportunity and adventure, and it is ever-changing. Just think how much has changed in your lifetime alone. The internet allows us to access a wealth of information immediately. Cell phones keep us in contact with family and friends at all times. Satellite television gives us up-to-the-minute coverage of global events as they happen. While there are so many positives to this technological revolution we are living through, there is an inevitable downside. A culture has emerged that thrives on instant gratification. with people who impatiently search for shortcuts in an effort to find easy ways to solve complex problems. At the same time, incredibly high standards are placed upon us as a result of an increasingly competitive environment. Against this backdrop, the media looms, constantly reminding us all the things that we don't have in a society that glorifies the accumulation of material possessions. It is hard to overcome all these outside forces that all too often influence our behavior. So when my advice to you is to look deep inside yourself, to help you make the difficult choices that will build your future. You just might be surprised at what you will find. For every decision you make, be sure it's for the right reasons. This is especially true when deciding what you want to do with the rest of your life. Confucius said, choose a job you love, and you will never work a day in your life.
No, Grandma.
Forge a career path because it makes you happy. It's what you want, not what society dictates. And even if it means that you have to struggle along the way, good, struggle. Overcoming challenges only makes you stronger. I believe that I am the perfect example of this ethic, so allow me to share a personal story. At the end of my freshman year in college, I made the decision to become a high school teacher. I was so happy I could not stop thinking of the possibilities for my future. Over that summer, I worked in a restaurant, and when patrons asked what I was studying in college, I would proudly state, I am going to be a teacher. Convinced they would be impressed with my noble career path. I naively waited for them to respond. Go forth, honorable college student, and study hard, for it is you that has accepted the challenge to change the world one child at a time. Instead, what I heard was, a teacher, eh? There's no money in teaching. And high school? What are you, crazy? These kids are nuts today. Some were a little more optimistic about my decision, saying, well, at least you'll get your summers off. All this feedback was unsettling. I began to question what I had originally thought to be my true destiny. I knew I possessed an enthusiasm for life and learning. All I wanted to do was share it with the rest of the world, especially with young people. After much soul searching and the support of family and close friends, I continued on despite the negativism I experienced along the way. Today, after 10 years in the profession, I can state with conviction that I love my job. You see, whatever you decide to do with your life after high school, whether it be selecting a major in college, joining the armed forces, learning a trade, traveling the world, playing in a band, or meditating on a mountaintop, there will always be someone out there who will tell you you're making the wrong decision. Just remember, it's not for them to decide, it's for you to decide. It's your truth. Thank you for the opportunity to share my truth with you today.
Members of the Board of Education, administrators, faculty, parents, relatives, honored guests, friends, and our honored retirees, Sue Ceballero and Darcy Ajay. Thank you for being here this evening to celebrate and honor this year's graduating class. Take pride in the accomplishments of these young people, for without each of you, they could not have reached this point. Graduates, as I think about the class of 2004, the words pride and passion come to mind. I remember the proud smile of Joe Grant as he won his first wrestling match. And I love the look of pride on Mike Wheel's face as he organized and implemented the Student Government Cleanup Day. I enjoyed so much the looks on Matt Greenfield and Dave Michelson's faces as they shared in the experiences as the two student representatives to Boys Nation, representing the state of New Jersey. And it was a wonderful experience to see the joy on Jenna Selden's face as she mastered the art of parallel parking in preparing for her driver's license test. It was sheer joy to see the exquisite smile on Tina Tender's face as she was so beautifully and appropriately dressed at the senior prom. I loved watching the pride and passion of our boys volleyball team during their third and fourth games of the state final. And I enjoyed watching the happy faces of so many of you as you took part in the first ever Ultimate Frisbee game against Ridgewood High. A great moment was shared watching Chris Gaffney make his way to the stage with a proud smile on his face as he received several scholarship awards. And that same look of pride was on Daniel Queen's face as he received a scholarship in memory of a deceased friend. I enjoyed attending the student-athlete breakfast and the smiles of accomplishment on Laura Moskovich's and Michael Sosa's faces as they received their awards. I loved being in the audience at Paper Mill Playhouse as the cast of Company cheered and clapped their way to the stage to receive their Best Musical Award. If there were time, I could start with Daniel Abbott and end with Melissa Zeeby and all 352 names in between. And each one of you would have a moment of pride, passion, and accomplishment. Remember this moment as you move forward in your lives and continue to believe in your ability. Happiness is a matter of following the 3 H's. Use your head to think. Use your heart to love and be passionate. And always have hope for your future and the future of the world in which you live. Meet the challenges ahead of you, but also enjoy each day. Remember, you have many tomorrows ahead of you, but only one today. Enjoy it, enjoy one another, be happy, and God bless you all. Mr. Watson, this class has completed all necessary requirements to be graduated, and so it gives me great pleasure to present to you the Carroll High School graduating class of 2004.
There he goes, guys. And Annie, this is going. You see him?
Stephanie Klebnikov.
He just got his diploma. That was him. Yeah.
Andrea Lanchero.
Judge Nelson.
Where is he?
Lauren M.
Oh, he's
Vino.
all the way up in the front.
Michael Sosin.
Caitlin Kavanaugh.
He's not looking this way.
Jacqueline Marie Berberabe.
Members of the Board of Education, faculty, family, friends, and fellow graduates, I am honored to have the opportunity to speak here tonight. My family, Carolyn High School, is not just a place. Throughout the past few generations, it has become a tradition for my family to attend this institution. Both of my parents
Yeah.
tasted, and behold, duty was joy. Joy and satisfaction come to us from serving others, and there are literally millions of ways of doing that. I can't imagine anyone more successful than an outstanding teacher, surgeon, clergy person, entrepreneur, lawyer, politician, police officer, community volunteer, or many others who strive to know more about the art of their particular profession with their personal assigned values and goals in mind. But all of the choices society presents us, the decision on how to serve mankind underlines all of them. When you choose to be of service to others, you are forging a path toward developing your own value in life. People who are selfless and generous in spirit expand our universe. Values and inherent worth are some of the greatest gifts a parent can give their children. Helping them to know the power of giving is one of the greatest gifts to them. And giving of ourselves is one of the greatest gifts we can give others. Our time here is human.